this is the culmination of our life, of that, you know, see the world more globally as a student, and I don't know, you know, here we are after World of Finance and stuff. Sorry about that.
No, wow.
And then we used to be in this Rotary Club as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Remember? Okay, nice.
So you were an exchange student, is that what you
I was an exchange student in Sweden for a year. I'm just saying, like, what you're selling is true here, because there's so many things that are true about Rotary involvement, and that really opens your mind, you know.
Wow.
I love that. Yeah.
We love Rotary. His dad was in big part of Rotary as well, in Woodinville.
Yeah, exactly. After I did my exchange, then they snookered him in to become an exchange host. You know, their first or second incoming student, and he happened to be from Sweden as well, and stayed the whole year, and you know, became like another brother. And so it was really, really neat. And so, yeah, my dad hadn't yet been in Rotary, actually. He was trying to wait till the nest was empty. So he got in earlier than he thought. Because, yeah, you can do it. You can have kids and be busy and still do Rotary, right?
Well, so he grew up in Woodinville and I grew up in Kelso. I don't know, it's just a small little rest area type town on the way to Portland. And we've been married for 28 years, and we moved to Camino from, well, we lived down south, I guess you should say, and we moved to Camino in 98. And then we had some kids. We had Katie and Sarah, and Keegan. We had 3 biological kids. And we just were really involved in our church on Camino Island. And we did a lot of foster care. We went to Mexico actually with our church, with the youth group. And we thought, oh, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go to that orphanage and serve there. And we drove down in our little Toyota one Labor Day weekend with our 3 little kids. And he liked one place and I liked another, and so we're just like, well, we can't decide. So then we met someone and we started doing foster care. And so through foster care, if you've ever done it or go through a class, you find out there's so many needs for adopting children in Washington State. And so we were open to it, and so we adopted 2 sibling sets. Our first one was Ellie and Lucas. And Lucas he just turned 4 when he came to us, and Ellie was born, and we brought her home from the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I couldn't afford Rotary
After that, yeah. And then we also adopted Caleb and Addison, their biological siblings as well. And so they came to us when they were like 6, 7, yeah, around that age. And then in 2013, we decided, well, we have enough kids. No, we have our hands full. A lot of places wouldn't take us because we had too many kids, but we decided we really feel like we want to move to Haiti and serve there. So we moved to Haiti in 2013, and we started serving with a mission called Mission of Grace. And they have an orphanage, and that was really our heart, was just to love little children. You know, we want all the kids to feel loved, be noticed, feel special, because sometimes they're just in the way, a burden. So we started serving with Miss Lynn and Pastor John, and they had an orphanage, an elderly home, a church, a medical clinic, and a school. So while we lived there, and I'll show you that in a moment, but this Carriers is kind of near Port-au-Prince, if you're familiar with the country at all. And so when we lived with them, when we served with them, we helped at the elderly home, taking their blood pressure, giving them their medicines. We ran the clinic, the medical clinic. That's where I learned French. I learned how to write French or Creole before I could even speak it. I was writing prescriptions, even though I didn't even really know what I was writing, but that's how we learned. And he was we had a doctor, right? It's been so long. But we ran the clinic there, and then we also taught Sunday school, which was crazy. There was 100 kids, and we were brand new, and we had our own little kids, and it was a lot. So Miss Lynn, she grew up in the mountains, and in this area called Plaisance, but she ended up down near Port-au-Prince, where she has her mission. Now this is her brother, Elvis. Mr. Elvis is what we call He's an amazing man, and we met him at Madame Lou, which is their mom's 80th birthday, and Miss Lynn said, "Can you go help Mr. Elvis in the mountains? Would you pray about going there? I've started this tiny little orphanage because they needed some help, but he really needs help. He doesn't have anyone." So we said, "Okay, no problem." So we moved our family to Plaisance, and he has a school. That's his big passion thing, is school. He really wants everyone to have a great education, and his school is a little step above the rest of the schools, the public schools. So he really wants you to be in a grade appropriate for your age. So no 18-year-olds in 3rd grade, because that happens a lot in Haiti, because you don't get to move on until you pass. And so if you don't pass because for whatever reason, you're still in 3rd grade, right? And so at his school, he's really working on hard. He's hired really great teachers, and he just has like a higher standard for them. Like the testing that they do is a little bit different than the public schools testing. So he expects more from their students.
How many students, if we forget to?
How many students does he have? He probably has 500.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
we have 200 of them, so yeah, at least. And that includes a lot of kindergartners, lots of kindergartners, they wear yellow shirts and blue pants, and I like to call them minions, because they just like all these little minions running around. They're adorable, because they start school when they're 3.
Oh,
Can you imagine? All these little cute little kids.
If they can afford it.
Yeah, if they can afford it. If they can't afford it, well, then they don't. But, and then they also have a church, and then they planted like 12 churches along the mountains. And we live in the bush. The Plaisance is like, they call it the bush. And so that means like there's no running water. There's no electricity. There's no grocery store or gas station. Kind of like camping, I guess. Everybody's camping. Yeah.
Wow. Permanent camping.
Permanent camping, there you go. And then they have a medical clinic. Mr. Elvis has a tennis program, and he's had a couple people get scholarships and go to the U.S. to go to college for tennis. And then and he's pretty much like the unofficial mayor. Nothing goes on in Plaisance without Mr. Elvis knowing, so it's really good that we have him on our side. Honestly, yeah. And so when we first moved to Plaisance, they had us run the medical clinic. They thought my husband was a doctor. They call him, some people still call him Doc. And I ran the pharmacy, and
A fake doctor.
it just was so much work. I'm like, oh my goodness. But we
Well,
would,
to get the people to come away from voodoo doctors
yes.
and to come to a real West medicine, I played the role, like Joey Tribbiani. He was my inspiration. Joey can do it.
That's right, yes.
But yeah, it would help bring it.
Yeah, because we were there, people would come to the clinic.
We had a real doctor that I was.
We did have a real doctor that we worked with, but they would call him doctor.
Yes.
That
We're there
just,
for helping them.
I don't know, we ran it for maybe 3 or 4 years, and it just took a lot of time and a lot of money of our own personal money, just because, a lot of people don't want to give to a medical clinic. They want to give to a school, maybe sometimes. I don't know who they would actually want to give to, but they don't necessarily want to give to a medical clinic, and so it was hard to keep it going. It's still going now, we're just not in charge of it. And then, what else did we help? Oh, and then we taught Sunday school. Again, a crazy amount of kids, like 100, and taught English in the school. And we're also raising our own children. Okay, so this is a map of Haiti, if you're familiar with it at all. But so this X, that is Port-au-Prince. That's like the capital city. That's where it's really bad. Not good right now.
Yeah.
And this is Plaisance in the mountains. This is where we live
It's
now.
about 5 hours west, like by car or so, from Port-au-Prince.
If you could drive, but you
If
can't.
you
You can't drive anymore. It's just way too dangerous.
Mm.
And then this other heart right here, this is Carrier. That's where we originally started with Miss Lynn. And that's near Port-au-Prince a little bit, and it's on the water. It's a lovely place. And then up there where that check mark is, just for reference, that's Cap Haitian, if you've heard of Cap Haitian. So, yeah.
So how do you get there?
So now we would fly into Port-au-Prince, and then we would fly to Okai, and then drive about an hour and a half. But right now, Port-au-Prince is so terrible that I think we're gonna have to fly to Cap Haitian and then fly over.
Good.
Yeah, So that's gonna be interesting. So right now our main job and role, and it has been for the last several years, is the orphanage. There are babies. And we also, have so many hats because we're the only foreigners for how many? Hour and a half away.
Caucasian foreigners, I guess. Yeah, for like 45 minutes.
Yeah. And so we have a lot of moms that die after childbirth. And so we started at the clinic this thing called Club Mama. So they can come in for free prenatal care. They can give their birth for free. So they're not giving birth at home with a voodoo doctor. They're not, or a midwife that's some guy with dirty gloves, or just like something that's not a great situation. And then also postnatal. And so we started that, and that's still going on at the clinic. And then a lot of family preservation. So you would be surprised, but we have so many people come to our house on a weekly basis, and they want to give us their kids. And so we have to sit down and have hard conversations and ask them and try to figure out, why are you trying to give us your kids? And in some reasons, you're like, yeah, I think we need to take the child or it's not going to survive because they're very malnourished and you can just see it. Or they have some special needs, and then those children are looked at as a burden. And so they're just kind of left in the corner. And so we know, okay, we need to probably take the child. But sometimes it's like, well, we can't feed them. We don't have enough money to feed them. Well, what if we gave you some money to feed them, or some food? Like once a month, if we gave you some food, would that help? Well, yeah, okay. So then we do that. So, or we send them to school. Or then there's a ton of kids that can't afford. The schools in Haiti are free, the public schools, but you still have to buy a uniform, you still have to buy your books, backpack, all that stuff. And so a lot of kids can't afford that, a lot of families. And so they come to us, and we send at least 20 kids to school a year. So at random times, they'll just come when the bill is due, kind of, and it's usually right after January. They're like, we can't finish school unless you help us. So we have a lot of requests then. So when we started the orphanage, Miss Lynn started it, but when we first got there, it only had 9 kids, and it was at 215 square feet.
Oh my gosh, that's way smaller than this
It's
room.
so small, right? Like
Yeah.
area, right? I mean, it's so tiny. And the house was Miss Lynn's grandmother's house.
Wow.
So it was made out of mud and rock with a skip of cement and some paint. Really not good paint. And that was where they were living. And it worked. And it worked. And the nannies would bring out a mattress and lay on the floor at night with them. And it was what it was. But it was very, very small. So one day, someone brought us their baby, and it happened to be Jonah when he was 17 days old. And so we were going to, it was just a tiny little thing, we're going to take him to the orphanage, but the orphanage was so small, and he was so small, and I just thought, let's just keep him in our house for a little bit longer. And we kept him at our house, and everyone fell in love with Jonah. And, Mom, can't we keep him? We already have 7 kids.
Yeah.
So
Let's one more.
Okay. So Jonah, so his mom had died, and after she gave birth, and so we took Jonah in, and we met the grandma, and we knew that there were 8 kids total that mom had. Now the grandma had only had 1, and so now she has all these kids. So that's why she brought us the baby. So, but she kept the others, and we would send food every month for them. We would send money for school so the kids could go to school. We were really trying to help them out. And we told her, if you ever need help, we can try to help you. Like, if you think we need to take them at the orphanage, we'll take them at the orphanage. Yeah. But we can't take all 8, especially in this 200 square feet. We did not have room to take them at that time, So I'm like, hopefully not right now, you're not gonna say that. But, if you need us, please let us know. And so we would send someone to go take her supplies every month. And she needed to come and ask for help, or if she needed to go to the clinic herself, or one of the other kids, she would come and ask us. And so we would help her out. And then she started passing the kids around, this family's gonna take care of them, but she didn't tell us this. And these families were using some of the children, especially Lindsay in the dark pink, as Restovic, which is a child slave. And so
We're paying for her to go to school.
We're paying for her to go to school, and she's being used as a slave. And so we found out about this because 2 houses down from where we were living, there was this little girl, and I'd see her when we were walking by or driving by, and I'd wave to her, and she was just so cute. And I'm just thinking, and we knew the people that lived there. I'm like, who's that little girl? Oh, it's her cousin or something. And no one would tell us, but everyone in the community around our village knew as Jonah's sister. As Jonah's sister, but no one wanted to tell us to be the bad guy. But we found out that she had been living there. She wasn't allowed to go to school. She wasn't eating. She was sleeping under the table. You know, just treated terribly, beaten. And that wasn't her first experience. She had been at other homes, and it had been terrible. So when we found out about that, we went to the grandmas and said, this is not okay. And she didn't want that. And she had by that time gotten Lindsay back because she had found out that that was happening. Because she's an evil woman, but she's also, she loves her grandkids also. And so she really didn't want that for them. And so she agreed to let us take Jonah and Lindsay and Teresa. So now we have all 3. We've had them for, 5 years or more. And so we are adopting all 3 of them. So this was the orphanage in the beginning. Just this cute little orphanage. I love this picture because we don't have the building anymore. Because we had a hurricane in 2016, and it really just wiped out our village. I mean, it didn't look the same going out the doors. Do you remember that first day going out and looking down the road? You're just thinking, where are we? It was just so odd. But many people lost roofs in the hurricane. We had an earthquake in 22, 2 years ago, and everyone lost their walls. But during the hurricane, everyone lost their roofs. And so we had to move the kids out of the house, the little house, because some of the walls did crumble a little bit. And then, anyways, from that it was just a terrible events happened. Like our children had moved to this other temporary house, then got cholera, and we lost 3 babies, died in 1 week. Every other day. It was like the worst week of our lives, I'd say. And it was just awful. You know, I remember telling our son Keegan, who's 24 now, and I remember telling him, you're not going to have to build a casket, but we just need you to really help out. But in the end, he had to build a casket. That's awful. To have your young son, because we were busy at the clinic, and then we had babies lined up at the clinic. It was just a huge mess. Anyways, so after that we decided we really do need to build a new building. And so we raised money for a couple years, and we were able to build this nice building. It's painted. This was before that. It's weird that I don't have any pictures of it, but I have pictures playing in it and all around it, but not just of the house, except for this when it was being built. And so we were able to build it and move our little kids in, and it was never our intention to fill it up because no one wants to do that. We want to try to keep the kids at home if that's where they can be. So in 2018 we moved in 15 kids. And it was just so cute, and they were just so happy, and they really have the best house in Plaisance, don't you think? Probably, yeah. I mean, everyone would want to be there. So from 2018 to 2022, we grew to 50 kids.
Wow.
And this is by saying no every week, I'm sure, to someone.
Wow.
Right? And so that was 2022. I really wanted to match the jammies because they have to wear jammies anyways, right? And so I might as well just do it once a year. And then this last year, we have 210 kids.
Wow.
And the reason we have 210 kids is because, I'm going to this one right here. Remember I told you we met Miss Lynn there, and she had an orphanage in Carriers, and she had a big orphanage there. So we have 2 orphanages, right? One in Carriers and one in Plaisance. And the violence in Carriers has been so bad that they had to leave. And so the kids were like hiding under the beds and crying, and they could hear gunshots, and you'd hear like videos of them or watch videos, I remember, and I'm just thinking, we gotta get those kids out September, they moved to Plaisance. So now we have 210. We started with 9, and now we have 210 kiddos.
Wow.
So this Christmas is last year, and it's almost Christmas again. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it seems like we just had Christmas. But so now the house that we originally built, that big one, is now going to be a boys' house. So now it's just all boys, but it also has the babies are there, and then some kids. We have a whole gaggle of gaggle, I don't know if that's the right word, children that have special needs. We used to have maybe 2 or 3, but in Carias they had quite a few too. So now they need their own house now. So eventually, hopefully, that will be down the road. So we have a boys' house, and then we have a girls' house. And this actually, when they got there, we didn't have room for all these girls. So we had just finished our house about a year ago, and I remember, I think I was home last summer because I had a hysterectomy. Anyways, and before I was going back, I was telling my friend Lisa, I'm so embarrassed. Our house is so big. I don't know why God had us build such a big house. And then that very week, I mean, I think it was 2 days later, we got a call from Miss Lynn. What are we gonna do? Like, send them. They can come to our house. So we had 65 kids live with us. 65 girls. In our house. So you can only imagine what dinner looked like and counting. Well, I just remember, like, we have a lot of help. We have cooks and we have people that help clean and we have nannies. At first we didn't have nannies for the first 6 months because I'm like, we don't need nannies. This is our house. I don't want people living with us. You know what I mean? But then I wised up after that and I'm like, oh, yeah, the nannies would be a good idea. So anyway, so we had 65 kids living with us, and it worked out amazingly. I mean, our house was just full, but
So
amazing.
but where are they now?
So now they have just moved in February. In the end of February, they moved. We were able to raise money, and doTERRA, you know, doTERRA essential oils.
Yeah.
They, I think, donated $100,000.
Wow.
And so we were able to finish a house. So it's a similar house to the one that the boys live in. It's a little bit bigger, and it's just right in the corner from them. And so, amazingly fast, it was built. And so the girls moved in. I left there on February 29th, and so I think it was the 28th, the day before, that we moved them in there.
Wow.
Yes. So all the girls live there. Not all the girls. Most of the girls. And then we have a big boy house. So we have a lot of older boys that are out of school, a lot of older boys, and we don't want the older boys necessarily, but the little boys teaching them naughty stuff, right? Or influencing them in whatever way. And so we have a house that's across the street that we're renting from someone on the staff, and so we have about 22 boys living there. And then some of the boys just wanted to live there because their favorite nanny was there, which was a good thing, I thought. And then we have girls, and so some of these girls have since moved to the girl house. And now the rest of them, I think there's 18 now, I guess there's 24, that live at the school. And so there's 2 rooms at the school that that were new classrooms, and they had bathrooms in them, and they were just super nice rooms. And so we've kind of taken those over temporarily, and we're using those for them. And so they live there with the house mom, but it's the older girls. And so that's
What are their ages?
Oh, well, let's see. Rosalinda is probably one of the youngest. She's 16, and the oldest is probably 24. Yeah. So on February 29th, I left. Ryan and our son Keegan, they were already here working on a house, and then they went to Florida. And our daughter was getting married on March 23rd. And so on February 29th, our children right here, Lucas and Addison and Ellie, and this was our daughter-in-law to be. We flew to Port-au-Prince, and we were gonna pick up Jesslyn's visa, because she had just been approved for a fiance visa finally after like 5 years. And so we were gonna pick it up, and we were gonna go to Florida for our daughter's wedding. And her visa wasn't ready, so I left Lucas with her at the hotel, and I just said, okay, go tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be ready tomorrow, you guys, and I'll book a flight for tomorrow. I'll meet you there. And so then the girls and I went to the airport, had some yummy food. We're sitting there, and the gangs had been shooting at the airport. So they closed the airport, no flights are going out, and then people are just like waiting in line. I'm just like booking a flight on my phone, like, okay, I'm gonna go up tomorrow, because I thought that's what I could do. Anyway, so I booked the flight for tomorrow, and somehow we had to get our bags back that we had checked in. That's a tricky one, trying to get your bags back that you had checked. But I had seen them, and I asked somebody, and they gave back to us, and so the driver came and got us, and we went back to the hotel. And so every day we would, I think a couple times we went to the airport, but they were canceled every day, the flights. You'd get there and be like, oh yeah, they're canceled. And pretty soon they closed the airport altogether. And so we were stuck in Port-au-Prince near the airport, surrounded by gangs, for 28 days.
Oh my God.
So my husband, which is great, he was here. He reached out to some news organizations, and so reporters were calling me, and so we were just trying to spread the word because the embassy was not helping. I'm calling the embassy every day, can you please help us get out? And they're like, yeah, no, there's nothing we can do. And then we said, we can hear helicopters, we know they're coming in to get someone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's just for our staff. And they said, leave the missionaries behind. So we were just kind of stuck for 28 days, and it was scary, for sure. During the time, I was super calm. After I left, that's when it all hit me, because at the time, I'm just going to be really calm for our kids, and every day just try to figure this out, right? And afterwards, I was a mess for 2 or 3 months. But every day, we would get up at the crack of dawn, because we had so many different groups trying to help us get out. And so get up early, get up like at 4, be packed and ready. Okay, we're up and ready. And then nothing would happen. Or you wouldn't get a call until like that night, so then we'd check back into our room, and then we'd do it again. So we did this a lot. We'd get up super early, and then we had to move hotels. This was actually at the second hotel, because the first hotel, the owners were from Germany, and they said, we're gonna get out, we're gonna flee. And so they got on motorcycles and went through the mountains to a small little town, and then we're gonna get in a fishing boat and go to the Dominican. And I thought, oh, that's brave. And then they did it, and they made it. We found out. So the next day, I thought, yeah, we're gonna do this.
Wow.
And so I asked our driver, can you please find some moto drivers? And he's known us forever. He's like, Miss Jill, fairly. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, oh, okay. And so he's looking for motor drivers, and I had a reporter calling me, I remember, and I told her what I was gonna do. She's like, do not do that. That is not a good idea. Don't do that. I'm like, no, they did it yesterday. We're gonna be fine. And so, and then I talked to Miss Lynn, and she's like the voice of reason sometimes. And she said, Miss Jill, do not do that. And so I said, well, okay, I won't. And so good thing, because that day, that mountain, that rat had been shot up completely. And so we would have been dead or kidnapped, and then dead maybe. So we just went to another hotel. So this was our third hotel that we went to, and every morning we would get up bright and early, and then just crash. Finally, on March 21st, the embassy called and said, we have a flight. And I said, will you take my daughter-in-law? No, because she doesn't have a U.S. passport. She has a visa, U.S. visa, but she doesn't have a passport, so they would not take her. And so I said, well, I'm not leaving her. And so early in the morning, I woke up our kids, the 3, Lucas, Ellie, and Addison, and they were talking about it the other day. I think you're so confused, like what? Because I'm like, get dressed, put your shoes on, get in the van. And like, where are we going? I'm like, you're gonna go get on the helicopter. And they thought I was going, and then when I shut the door to say goodbye, they're like, wait, what? I said, I'm not going. They won't take Desleen, and so I'm gonna stay with Desleen, and you guys are gonna go. Call me when you get to this, and then call me. And so my daughter, Ellie, I guess her daughter was just crying the whole way. They're like, what is going on? So this is a picture of them getting on the helicopter, and then they flew to the Dominican. Miss Lynn had been evacuated, and she was in the Dominican, so they stayed with Miss Lynn and another missionary for the night, and then the next day they got on a plane and went to Florida. And so our daughter's wedding, remember, is March 23rd, right?
Oh my gosh.
So March 21st they got out. And so I'm still there with Desleen, and they're still, like, the embassy is not going to take Desleen because of the passport. And so we just kept reaching out. We had all these people trying to help us, different organizations, calling all the time, and finally on March 23rd, we got a call from this guy named Brian. I forget what his last name is, but he's the one that was kind of coordinating everything. And we met him. We got to meet him about a month ago recently. It was really nice to really see him in person. But he was the one that coordinated. So every time someone would call me to say, "We're gonna come and save you," I would give him their information, and then he would try to coordinate it. And then he was also trying to coordinate us getting on a fishing boat and going to Jamaica. Yeah. But that was going to take a couple days. It was a slow fishing boat, and then we had to get out of Jamaica. So, but on March 23rd, we got a call, and they said we have a flight, and they'll take Dolan. And so you have to be down here. And so this is the morning of our daughter's wedding, and so I'm downstairs. We finally get a driver, and they take us to this. They call it the golf club. And it's hard to imagine that Port-au-Prince in Haiti has a golf club, but it's for, it used to be for the Army?
They used to have a golf course before the 2000 whatever hurricane. Big earthquake.
Okay, yes. But this was for the elite people, right? Most Haitians don't ever go there. And so I remember we were eating lunch or something, and then Ryan's on the phone and Sarah's on the phone because she wants to do her first look, in her wedding dress with her mom and dad.
The guys might not know what that is.
Do you know what that is, dads, guys? Anyways, and so, so Ryan's there in person, and Sarah's gonna come out in her wedding dress, and I'm on the phone, and then we're actually on the golf course then, and Sarah comes out, and I'm like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and then the helicopter swoops down, and I'm trying not to tell her because I don't want her to get her hopes up that I'm gonna make it for the wedding, because most likely I'm not going to make it. But then I didn't want the day to be about us. I wanted it to be about her. And so the helicopter swoops down, and I'm running to the helicopter. I'm bending down, and Sarah goes, "Mom, is that a helicopter?" And then, and then our son Keegan, who was with Ryan and there at the wedding, and he heard that his fiance and I were on it, and he's crying. So everyone's just bawling. And then Deslene's holding on to me for dear life. But we made it to Cap Haitian on a helicopter, and then from there, the Jack Brewer Foundation had rented a private jet, and they flew us to Florida. So I did get to see our daughter that night, and our husband. Wow. It was at midnight at their hotel, but I did get to give her a hug.
Jack Brewer, yeah.
The Jack Brewer Foundation. So that if you've ever heard of that or ever hear of that they're amazing. Wow. This is actually Jack Brewer himself right there.
Oh, wow.
So that's when we landed in Camp Haitian, and we were just so happy. And then when we got on the private jet, it was amazing, and I told Deslene, most airplanes are not like this. This isn't going to be like this when we go to, fly to Washington or whatever, because I don't want her to think that this is what it's like, free cookies and, yeah. So anyways, so we made it, and our daughter got married, and 2 weeks later, Keegan and Dolan got married.
Oh, wow.
So we made it out, and we haven't been back yet. So we're really looking forward to hopefully going back. The violence is still really bad, and so right now we're just here doing what we can. Out of our 210 kids, we have 179 students. Wow. So if you can imagine trying to get someone ready for school, imagine trying to get 179 kids ready for school. They're going to start school on October 1st, and so right now we're trying to get backpacks and uniforms and everything, and it's super hard because we're not there. Yeah. But we're also trying to raise money, and it costs $300 a kid. So if any of you ever feel like you want to give or you feel burdened, we have some little flyers to hand out if you want to sponsor a student, because we have more than one. And so this is how you can follow us if you want to learn more, or just I try to post pictures and updates of what's going on or what we're up to. I think our life a lot of times is really mundane and boring, but what I've been told is it's not. It's different. But for us, we've been doing it for 11 years, and so driving a casket to the graveside is just something we do, or listening to the rah rah band or much.
Well, I know we're out of time, but I want to ask, what took you to Haiti originally? What made you decide, oh yeah, we're going to Haiti?
Well, after our 4 kids, we adopted the 4. We went or my 2 older girls, Katie and Sarah.
Yes.
We went on a dental mission trip with our church, with Camino Chapel, and we had fallen in love with it. And since we had said no to Mexico,
Yeah.
we already kind of had a heart. So they were in middle school at that time, and I remember Ryan was here, and we were flying home. We were in Florida, and I said to the girls, "What do you think about moving to Haiti?" And they both said, "Yeah." So it happened, I think, a couple years after that. Yeah, it took some time to wrap everything up and really figure out where we're going and what we're going to do. But it's been on our heart, and we absolutely love it. So if you ever want to come to Haiti, we'd love to have you. Right now is not a good time. But it will be eventually. So.
You can get there, you just can't leave, I guess.